This is Eddie Hearn, Matchroom Boxing. You're watching Sporting Icons. You don't need to be anywhere else.
Alright everyone, I hope you're all doing well and most importantly, fit and healthy. Now, big up to every one of you. Now, there are various news articles flying around today that Tyson Fury and his team are looking at ways for Deontay Wilder to step aside so Tyson Fury could take on Anthony Joshua for Undisputed. Now, is it a feasible way? Sure. I mean, there's certain ways that you could look at it and certain ways that they could possibly do it. For example, Wilder, he's set to make 40% of the next fight. Tyson Fury, 60%, because obviously Tyson Fury won the last fight. This is apparently the contractual arrangement. So Wilder, he's probably going to make 15, 20 million for the third fight, because I say that because not a lot of people actually want to see this fight again. Most people believe that Tyson Fury beat him convincingly enough that we don't need to see a third fight. Okay, so me at a guess, and many people say this, it's not going to be that big of a fight, which is unfortunate, okay? But the thing is, though, so he's probably going to make 15 to 20 million for that fight, based on the fact that for the second fight, Wilder apparently made around about 30 million for a 50-50 split. So even if they did pretty much the same kind of numbers as the second fight, which is unlikely, a reserved estimate of maybe 20 million, okay? Now, Fury and Joshua for Undisputed is a mega fight. And whether you like one or both of these fighters or none of these fighters, I think everybody can agree it is the biggest fight in boxing. It's an absolute mega fight. And the amount of money that will be thrown at this fight, I'm sure that they could muster up 20 million to just give to Wilder. Say, listen, you take this money now, you don't have to fight me, you can wait around and get the winner, or to go fight somebody else to keep yourself busy, which is probably ideal for Wilder, so Wilder can try new things against a lesser opponent. Because, let's be honest, what kind of adjustments is he actually going to make against Tyson Fury? I would imagine not too much. So they could certainly look at it that way. I'm sure they could muster up the money and that probably won't be a problem. But the problem that they're really going to have is if Wilder is really going to dig his heels in and say, no, I want that fight. I want my revenge. I want to become the 5th heavyweight in heavyweight boxing history after Anthony Joshua, Lennox Lewis and Muhammad Ali, etc. I want to become the 5th one to win my world title back in the immediate rematch. Because if he somehow managed to do that, that's a legacy-defining moment. So he could look at it from that way. But Wilder being Wilder, just based on what he's done historically, he don't give two craps about any of that. He's never cared about legacy whatsoever. If he had, he would have stepped up a long time ago. But he never did. So is it possible that Wilder would accept the money and step aside? I don't think so. But if he's a smart man and if he's got a smart team around him, then he will. But when you've got a contract, now we can go back to the Andy Ruiz and Anthony Joshua fight where Anthony Joshua, he activated the rematch clause. That meant that Andy Ruiz Jr. had no choice but to face Anthony Joshua next at the set rate, whatever was in the contract. For Wilder Fury, it's 60-40 in Tyson Fury's favour. But had Andy Ruiz Jr. said, nah, I ain't going to fight him, I want to do something else, he would have been stripped of all the belts due to the contracts. So that contract isn't the same kind of contract that Tyson Fury has. So if he said, you know what, Wilder, I ain't going to fight you, simple as that, then he would probably have to vacate the WBC belt, potentially have to retire, because that was part of the agreement with Andy Ruiz Jr. So it really does depend on the kind of contract that these guys have. But Wilder, he really believed that Andy Ruiz Jr. was going to defeat Anthony Joshua in the second fight. And he was saying, I want Tyson Fury to step aside so I can then go fight Andy Ruiz Jr. for Undisputed. But of course, since Anthony Joshua won, he went as quiet as a church mouse, didn't he? He wants no smoke of Anthony Joshua. He's made that abundantly clear. Abundantly clear. I mean, you turn down $120 million, that will tell you he never wanted Anthony Joshua. All he had to do was fight Dominic Breazeale, who he had to fight anyway for 20 million, and then 2 back-to-back fights of Anthony Joshua for Undisputed, 50 million a pop. That's 120 million. Has he made 120 million by fighting Dominic Breazeale, Luis Ortiz, and then Tyson Fury last fight? I doubt that very much. But the point is that what I'm trying to get at here is that he was all about him fighting Andrew Jr. for Undisputed, because Undisputed should take precedence, Tyson Fury should step aside. So would Wilder still hold that same kind of passion? Okay, there's an opportunity for Undisputed. Fury, Joshua, you go do what you got to do. I don't think so. I don't think Wilder is that kind of guy. Honestly, I don't. But if he's smart enough, he'll know that all he's going to get next is a $15 to $20 million payday and an absolute arse kicking again. So you're better off taking the 15, 20 million step-aside money and then go fight the winner for Undisputed and hope that it's Anthony Joshua. So for Fury to do that, that would be him telling us that he's bored of Deontay Wilder. He knows that he's got the number of Deontay Wilder. It's easy work. He wants something where he's going to have to get into camp and really motivated for it. Something where he's really going to have to work for something. Because Anthony Joshua is a totally different style fighter to Deontay Wilder. And I know that Tyson Fury, he's probably going to be the favourite for this fight based on what he'd done to Wilder. But as I said before, Wilder, he is a one-trick pony. That's not me having a dig at him. That's well-renowned. He's a one-trick pony. You take away that right hand, he ain't got nothing else. Otto Wallin took Tyson Fury to hell and back. So you would have to give Anthony Joshua a fair crack at this one. Of course you would. But Tyson Fury, he probably is going to be the favourite. So is Wilder going to step aside? Unlikely. Does Tyson Fury, is he bored of Wilder? Is it a case of, well, why do I need to fight him for? Me versus Anthony Joshua, Undisputed. I'll get the Undisputed belt and then I'll go fight you, Wilder. Surely that would be better for Wilder to postpone it a little bit longer. But of course, there is the obligations as well that Dillian Whyte, he's due for his mandatory shot at the WBC in February. So that one could get in the way, as he had a legal contract as well to have a fight in February for the WBC title, whoever the champion may be. And of course, you've got Alexander Usyk as well. And of course, you've got Kubrat Pulev. So there could be some complications for sure. And in my honest opinion, I think even if Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua do fight next, the winner is going to end up having to vacate at least one or two titles straight after the fight, even if these guys have another rematch in their contract, which I'd imagine that they probably do. So in the rematch, there probably won't be an undisputed fight. The other belts will be dispersed because they're going to have to be vacated or stripped. But anyway, that is what it is for now. I think Anthony Joshua, he would love nothing more than to push Kubrat Pulev to the side. I don't think that he really wants to be fighting Kubrat Pulev because, again, it's not the kind of fight that he is going to get motivated for. He's not going to see Kubrat Pulev as somebody who's really dangerous, but he has no choice but to fight Pulev because of the IBF mandatory. But against Tyson Fury, that's a fight that he's wanted for quite some time. I know Tyson Fury, when he came out of retirement, said that I'll fight Anthony Joshua. Joshua said, get yourself fit again first, because I want no excuses when I beat you. Wilder, he didn't hold that same kind of passion. He wanted Tyson Fury when he was still vulnerable, when he wasn't ready yet, and he still couldn't do it. And that showed again in the rematch where Tyson Fury absolutely annihilated Deontay Wilder. So Fury's getting better. Wilder isn't getting better. Wilder's always been vulnerable, always been vulnerable. Joshua has vulnerabilities as well. So does Tyson Fury. So that's what makes it interesting with Undisputed, with Joshua and Fury. But again, people will say, but Fury, he doesn't have a British Box Border Control license now because he gave them pre-notice before the Wilder fight that come March, I won't be renewing my contract because his contract was up in March because it gets renewed every year. So people say, but then we can't have it in the UK. Well, you can. And I'm pretty sure that if he does get the Joshua fight and they agree to have it on UK soil, all he's got to do is apply for his license again. It's as simple as that. So just because he hasn't reactivated his British Boxing Border Control license because he's not planning on fighting in the UK, doesn't mean he can't apply again. But again, Fury, he said that he wants to fight Joshua in Las Vegas. He considers Las Vegas his home. I'm sure Eddie Hearn and that would love to take it over to Saudi Arabia, where these guys will earn up to over $100 million each. I mean, this is Floyd Mayweather money. So again, I mean, if it does happen in Saudi Arabia, or it does happen in Dubai, or it happens in Las Vegas, wherever it's going to be, for me as a Brit, of course, I'd love it in the UK. 2 Brits for Undisputed. We've never had that before. Never, ever had it. We've never had a crowned undisputed heavyweight champion or any undisputed champion crowned on UK soil. So from a selfish point of view, that's what I would love. But would Wilder step aside? Probably not. Probably not. He just wants that fight. And in some ways, fair play. In some ways, because at the end of the day, you should always want to avenge your defeat. You should always want to. But I think with everything that's going on, with all the Wilder fan excuses and this, that and the other, it's made him look really, really weak. It's made him look pathetic. So Tyson Fury is going to have an absolute field day with him. An absolute field day in the press conferences leading up to it. Anyway, is what it is. We'll have to wait and see what happens. Is it likely or unlikely? I think it's unlikely that Deontay Wilder will step aside. If he's smart, he will step aside. But we all know Wilder, he ain't the sharpest tool in the box. Drop your thoughts below, click thumbs up, subscribe. Catch you all on the next video.